Alright, welcome again to today's class. Today's tutorial, I'll be taking you on how to embed, how to add shadow to your objects, your image and your text. So very quickly, let's get to it. Okay, this is fine. We're doing images, then we'll be doing text and objects. So this is an image. Let me import an object. This, or let me create an object. This is an object. So text. Let's write Artcraft Media. So we'll begin with text. Let's look at text first. So this is Artcraft Media Enterprise. So you can add your shadow to this by, let's make this white, the background white, or let's make it yellow. Okay, yellow is fine. So let's change our text fonts. Let's break them apart. Okay. Okay, so that's our font. We chose the impact font. So how do we add shadow to this? So let's make this white so that when we add our shadow you will see what we are looking at. So you come here to your toolbar, you'll see this drop shadow. So once I click on it and I come here, I've dropped shadow for that. I've dropped shadow for this. Okay, so that's how you drop shadow in Coreldraw, and the same step also applied to your images. Also applied to your images. So you can see that the shadow of the image. If I come here now, I drag it down. You can see that the shadow, depending on the direction you want to drag it. This for your tag, for your object. It's not coming up, it's not bringing up any shadow because I've not filled it. So if I filled it now with the color, see, it brings out the shadow. So the same tool applies for all, both for text, for image and for objects. So I can actually go to the property bar and set what I want in terms of shadow. Do I want a flat, bottom left? So I can set whatever it is I want. So if I do this, for instance, you can see that. Let me highlight my page so you see what. So we can see this. I can still go and make adjustments to it. You can come here and make adjustments to this depending on what I want to achieve. I can make adjustments to it depending on what I want to achieve. Okay, so you can apply the same thing to your text and to your image. So here you can set the opacity, that's the transparency of your shadow. You can set the opacity here. You can set the feathers. Do you want it to be sharp or do you want it to be blurry at the edge? So if I decide to, I can decide to make this, let's say 30. Once I do 30, you can see it blurry at the edge. It fits in smoothly. But if I decide to make it 2 as it were before, so you can see it has a more sharper edge. If I decide to make it 0, you can see So it's depending on whatever you set as your feather, it determines how sharp or how blurry the edges will be, while the opacity or the transparency of your shadow, determines. You can see it actually tells you underneath. Say drop shadow opacity. It says adjust the transparency of the drop shadow. Okay, so it adjusts the transparency of that shadow. If I click on this now and I make it let's say 80, you can see it becomes thicker. Okay, the color becomes thicker. If I decide to make it, let's say 100, it becomes more darker. But if I come here and I say okay 2, you see that the shadow is still there, but it's not pronounced as it were before. If I decide to make it, let's say 20, you can see it comes up more. If I decide to make it 10, you can see. So it depends on whatever it is you want to achieve in your design. So depending on what you want to achieve, like I keep saying, depending on what you want to achieve, then you can effect your changes on your property bar. You can also change the color of your shadow. You can change the color of your shadow depending all on what you want to achieve. Okay, you can change the color of your shadow depending on what you want to achieve. As you can see, as I'm changing it, the color is changing. I can come here and make this, let's say, so you'll see what I'm doing, make this 60. So you can see that the color has changed from black to blue depending on what I want to achieve. If I click on green, now the color changes to green. If I click on pink, the color changes to pink or purple. If I click on red, it changes. All depends on what you want to achieve. So there are other properties you can check out here. Just play around it. If you want it blurry, correction blur, you set it and effect your corrections. You want it inside, you can always make, it all depends on what you want it to achieve. So you can also clear the shadow. That's to delete the shadow entirely from your workspace or your object or your text, depending on all that you want to achieve. The next tool I would like to show you here is the contour tool. Let me show you what it does on your object. Let me select this. Okay, excuse me. Okay, I've selected it. So you come here and you apply contour to this. So you can see. So those cases where you want to do like a duplicate of a circle, okay, like there's something like this, so you can always apply this. It's kind of duplicate the circle to the size that you specify. So I can come here and do, let's say 4. Once I do 4, you see this is what it does. So these are contours. If you did geography, you understand what a contour is. It works on text. It works on text, but it doesn't work on images. It doesn't work on images, as you can see. It doesn't work on images. So let me show you another 3D effect I use. This is the distorting effect. So what the distorting effect does is distorts your objects. Your objects basically, it doesn't work on image. Most of this effects under this will not work on images. But if I click on this, so you see what it does to this. But if I click on your image, it does nothing to your image. Okay. Another tool you have here is the extrude tool. So the extrude tool doesn't work on images. It doesn't work on images, but it works on objects. So this is what it does on objects. It gives you like a 3D effect on your object. You can always come and also adjust how many percentage you want. Okay. The system is still loading. I give it some time. Okay. So you come here, you can change the color to whatever color you want. Okay, you can change it to whatever color you want. So I can come here and do let's say a blend of this. You can do this down there. then while on this one I can just come here, and do a darker shade. Okay, so once I'm done with that, I can always come here and remove the so you see how this is what it looks like at the end of the day. That's what it looks like at the end of the day. So, and it applies for both text and objects. The initial color selected is what you see at the top. Any other color you add there will come up beneath. It's like, okay, so this is what the block shadow look like. So that's your block shadow. You can come here and apply it to this so you can see it much clearer. So that's your block shadow. I know you must have seen this in Marvel action movies. But I've seen this in Marvel action movies. So that's what your block shadow looks like. That's what the block shadow looks like. So it's more like a thicker version of your shadow. So that's it. So just a thicker version of your shadow moved to specific angles. So that's your block shadow. So to add 3D effects to this also, again, you can always come here to your effects. Once you click on it, it drops down, you go to 3D effects. So on your 3D effect, you can always rotate. So it will bring out this. So you can always rotate. So as you can see, let me shift it so you see. So you can always rotate depending on what you want to achieve. Like I keep saying, you can always rotate your text. You can always rotate your objects also. This applies for both text, objects, and images. So identify it, I click cancel. You come to this, you go back to rotate. So you see that I can always apply it to for images also. So this is an image that I'm rotating to fit whatever it is I want to achieve. So it applies for both text, image. This shape here is an object. So it applies for both shape, image, and objects. Okay. So you can see it rotated that. It rotated it to the angle at which you wanted it to be. So the one I use most of the time is the emballed. So I use this so that you can see what it does to the image. So I can embald in different colors. I can choose to embald with a selected color. I can choose to embald with the original color. I can choose to embald with gray, with black. So it depends on what I want to achieve. So if you embald with the original color, you see what it does to it. Okay, so I can always adjust all of these properties. I use it mostly for text and objects, and just a few times on images, but mostly on text and objects. So I know you must have seen something like this on designs. It works both for text and objects though. It works both on text and objects. So if you look at this, let's use the curve color as let's use it as white. Okay, let me show you something. I click on OK now and I come here and I fill this as white. Let me fill this as white so you see what I'm showing you. So this is what it looks like at the edge. Okay, so I know you must have seen this in some other designs online. So that's what it looks like. Okay, that's what it looks like. So you can always adjust. You can always adjust to fit what you want. Okay, you can always adjust to fit what you want. Simply do a design on this so that you see how it turns out in designs. Alright.